of meditation. Right?
I'm doing that because I just noticed. I apologized. I didn't know it was going to be that loud because it's paused in the group. So I want to be able to share this back to the group.
No problem. Okay, so I'll just
Hi,
pick up
Jeff.
from.
We've got Mercury retrograde kicking our butt. Go ahead, please.
Well, we can push through it. So what I was sharing it was 11/11, 5 years ago. And I finished this course. It was very, very challenging course. And then I said, okay, let's look at the deeper messages in food. And so I started channeling food. I started understanding that spirit had a message to say. Mother Nature had a higher wisdom to offer. And we know that Mother Nature has higher wisdom. That's why there's foods that look like the organs that they heal, right? So we have carrots and blueberries that look like the eyes, and we have the walnuts that look like the brain for brain health. The clues have been there all along. And so I took a deeper dive, and it could have been a book, it could have been a movie, it could have been so many other platforms, but the platform of choice was in Oracle. And so we started to look at foods, 60 of them. This is again 5 years ago, and started to understand that blueberries and avocados and grapefruits and pineapple all had different meanings. And so when you go to the grocery store and you start to get that tug of, oh, I really feel like having artichokes tonight, or wow, butterscotch, butternut squash, let's have that. There are some inherent reasons. It's like our soul is so attuned to providing you the wisdom that soul's well ahead of our humanness. And so here's a guide now that's been created that lets us know. I wonder what butternut squash is telling me. What is artichoke saying? So, what is that saying? It could be something related to our chakra system. If we need to open our energy centers, it could be more into balancing the energetics of nature, earth, air, fire, water, and spirit.
Let me ask you something because I know
Yeah.
the question. The live is discontinued on in Facebook. So we're just going to go with this and we'll post later. I want to know, since nobody's going to be able to ask this, what happens if you don't like a food? So you say artichoke. I love artichokes. I think they're
Yeah.
a party in my mouth. But there are people who it's bitter, it's this, it's
Yeah.
that. They react so adversely. Is there a something that's telling them that
Well,
they're
that's a really good, great question. And so let's just go with artichokes for a minute. Artichokes in the Food Healing Oracle deck is forgiveness. And sometimes we don't want to look at forgiving somebody, forgiving ourselves, forgiving a situation that happened, regret. And so sometimes a food feels adverse because there's an energetic behind it. It also can mean that that particular, in our languaging, could mean a relationship with your crown chakra. Because if you think about it almost looks like a lotus, an artichoke also looks like it could be like the crown, so it does represent the crown chakra. But I also think that sometimes when we don't wanna look at forgiving ourselves or others, we have to look at what are the walls around our heart. So think about an artichoke. All those thorny, sharp layers are protecting our heart. So sometimes we do become in resistant, and that's such a perfect representation. We can talk about any of the foods and go to this level, but when you start to forgive, you can peel back those layers, and then our heart can shine again. If we've been hurt, we've had grief, we've had pain, we've had loss. Artichoke is so ceremonial. Also, again, because it's the crown chakra, we can really look at that as a really healing mechanism. Whenever I'm moving through a forgiveness process, I do have artichokes. I peel them back layer by layer. I look at the elements, the process of forgiving this person, this situation, and it's pretty profound. And then just on the nutrition side, the metabolics, let's just look at the pH. The pH of an artichoke is the most alkaline you can have. So for those who are into acidic and basic and you want to have a body full of alkalinity and you drink your alkaline water, artichokes are at 13.99 out of 14. So a
wow.
lot of times when we're not forgiving or we're in resistance, it creates almost a caustic, acidic environment in our body. So eating an artichoke, and again, like coming into terms with that, brings us more into a balanced state of health.
I
There
love
are people, I mean, so that's just an example, but I remember going to a party and I was showcasing it for the first time, what Food Healing Oracle Deck was all about. And she says, she pulls the coffee card, and the coffee is energy in our deck. And she's like, "I don't like coffee. I hate this card. I don't understand it." And she was just kind of like high, like really high strung. And I was just suggesting to her to maybe look at the card a little deeper because coffees become, when you blend them, ground. Like she needed it was so clear there was a little grounding needing to take place. And I said, it doesn't always mean you have to eat that food. I've had people write that color of that food, or write the name of that food on their water and actually energetically program it. Sometimes I met someone who was allergic to cucumber, and that's actually our balance card, and she couldn't digest cucumber, but she was able to put it in her bath. So she took a very balanced bath and felt that frequency. So not all the times you have to like the food. There
right.
also can also mean that there's sometimes, again, looking at it, I look at food now through the eyes of spirit, and how food is affecting us emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So to circle back to the book,
Right.
this is not called high vibrational eating, although that was the original topic. High vibrational eating, and I thought to myself, I'm speaking about high vibrational eating, and I have some amazing plant-based chef, and I have some food healers. Joy Davis, who's Albuquerque based, she'll be with us. She talks about culinary therapy. But when I started to gather these beautiful healers, profound from all over the world, I was looking at their gifts. I was looking at what they bring to the world as a healing and intuitive therapy. And the more I thought about it, the more I learned what everyone was offering. I was realizing that food is brought to our bodies, not just in our mouths. It's how we're feeding our thoughts. It's
Right.
how we're feeding our mind. What are we doing to feed our soul? So we need to look at the entire smorgasbord of wellness. And so I started to gather the Reiki practitioners, the past life regressionists. I started to bring the numerologists, the astrologers. I started to bring people who are the Mary Magdalene, people who've been studying that lineage. I brought in people who transmute foods from the violet flame chakra. I really looked at a whole entire cast of light language. I mean, I'm thinking about all the people in this book. There's so many. I have nurses in here. And I really thought, oh, wow, this is a much bigger discussion. And that's how high vibrational eating turned into high vibrational wellness. And the 25 of us got together and created what is now this amazing international bestseller that we are just it's just been a blessing. So
I
that was it in a nutshell. I could expand or extrapolate, but that brings us to this book.
well, I can appreciate it because years ago, I remember reading a book that two of the people I worked with had written on the fact that there are minerals and vitamins that are so necessary to the vibrational well-being of the body. I
Yes.
wish I could remember the name of the book. I know it's not on Kindle because this was before those days, you
Yeah.
know. But the fact is that there's so much information packed in there that with in regard to how we approach our food. And I'm so glad that you brought all these people together because people forget that resistance. I remember as a child, I knew it was going to be a bad night if I smelled asparagus. I mean, I knew
Oh,
I was done.
interesting.
It was, I have always had this reaction to asparagus. I've never cooked it in my house. I can
Hmm.
eat it steamed, but I don't know what the trigger was, have no idea. And I've always known that there was something resistant to the asparagus for me. And I've eaten it. Don't get me wrong. I'm very polite at parties.
Can we talk about asparagus just for a minute here?
Because I'm dying to know.
Oh my God. And it's so funny you keep saying the word die. So
No,
two
don't say
things.
that.
One is That's a whole story about asparagus is in chapter 1 that I speak about in the Cosmic Roadmap to Food Consciousness. And you'll if you haven't read the chapter, you'll love it because it does talk a lot about what I see in asparagus. But I remember taking my food healing course, and he said if you he was stranded on a desert island, what would be the one most important vegetable you could take to keep your body well? And it is asparagus. It's a major detoxifier because we need glutathione, which is a very important part of the process of detoxing the liver. But it's our transformation card in the deck. And I speak about it a lot because when people have resistance, they may just not like the taste. I get it. But it is something to look at transformationally. Now, one of my
Go figure,
popular classes is that I took the 22 major arcana
right?
from tarot and I paired up the 22 foods that relate to the major arcana. Well, spoiler alert, when you take the class, the asparagus is our death card. So you're like, I'm dying to know. I'm like, well, actually, it is the death card in the sense that, of course, when the death card shows up, it doesn't always mean literal. And it's very much about change, transformation, major shifts in your life. And when we have asparagus or asparagus is represented, it is to us signaling and signifying that there is something to be looking at that. But on the end, it's obviously transformational for the body because it's such a major detoxifier. It's so good. I'm sorry you don't like the taste, but oh my God, it's so good for you, Michelle.
Understand, my mother bought vegetables in a can back in those days. We
Oh
didn't
God.
have fresh asparagus here in Gallup, New Mexico back in those days. So it was in a can and she boiled it to death.
Oh yeah.
And it was the
I understand.
smell that
No
just made
taste.
me go, whoa. And then,
And no nutrients at that point, right? When you pulled it apart and you've
right.
lost it in the canning process and then you killed it in the boiling process.
So when I got older, I ate steamed asparagus. I was like, what was I so concerned about back in those days? And then I remembered cutting it and it would like kind of shred. And then it became this terror for me at the table. I don't know if that's what it was because nobody got to leave the table until Michelle ate her asparagus. And so I
Oh my
was there
goodness.
till I was falling asleep on my plate. I was like, not eating it. So my sisters learned to grab it while it was still hot and eat it so we weren't stuck at the table.
I'm gonna read. So you're bringing up something that is one of our chapters, and I'm gonna look it up for you now because Denise Flood, who is an amazing healer in our book, she wrote this chapter, read chapter 12, Breaking the Ancestral Cycle using EFT, which is tapping,
Yes.
using EFT and tapping to heal emotional eating from generational wounds. And that process is so powerful that people have in their lineage and their DNA allergies, resistance, emotional, very similar to what you're talking about, emotional wounding from things that happened in their childhood related to food. And it also could be way in the DNA. Like my great grandmother, I said I was the fourth generation. She was the town psychic in Russia. And you think about some of these areas that didn't have a lot of food. I mean, right? You think about, Ireland, they ate potatoes. But when you start to think about scarcity and feelings of fear of not being able to eat, those embed and imprint into our tissues. So we have even chapters that help heal those things that give
And
people better relationships.
that's why I think this book is so powerful. So I got to actually, before I got so enormously busy this last week, I got to glance through. So I'm skimming. It was hard to do skimming through. So I bought it twice because I
Oh,
thought, this book is going to be so awesome. So when you had the get the book now sale on the,
yeah,
on the release date.
yeah,
And I was like, I'm going to get this way because I carry my Kindle with me everywhere.
yeah.
And I'd
Digital is
have it.
great.
And it's great to have something because sometimes you read something and then it could be a month later. So I like my Kindle with me so I can go back, I highlight things and love it. But I also signed up, and this was before you guys offered such a great grand prize drawing thing. I was like, no, I want the book hard copy because I want to share it. And then I
Yeah.
thought, well, if I really like this, so I skimmed it. I didn't get a chance to fully invest. I thought, guess what's coming for Christmas? Because this is a great book to give to people, I think, because what it's giving to people is life
Yeah. Huge. A
energy.
huge lease on life.
It is.
It's a
Well,
it's a very liberating book. So when people come, I'm so excited about September 7th. People are going to come, they're going to hear me talk. I have so many things to share with you. Chef Joy, she's also a social worker. She's just amazing healer. She'll be there. She's actually going to be providing a whole little appetizer and wonderful food display, very much intentionalized. You get to see what she's preparing and how I've matched up the food. But the book's going to be so nice. You're going to get the book, and we'll be signing it. And you'll see that, and this was brought up recently at another book signing, the tools, each chapter, or those 25, have a tool, meaning that you're going to read these stories, and some of them are traumatic. I mean, a lot of us healers have been through traumas. We've had life lessons. We've had to learn, experience, grow, come out the other side. And that brought us to our next stage of development. And now this is what brought this person or that person or myself to teach these teachings. So you learn about all of us as authors, but then each of us provides a tool, and these tools, although they may say, yes, you can go get the food healing oracle deck, or hey, go over here and you can learn about this. You can learn, there's a provided tool, 25 of them right off the pages. So right there and then, you don't have to go anywhere, do anything, but read the tool, read the process,
right.
listen to the story, that whatever the imagery, the meditation, they're all provided for you. Each page will jump off and hopefully into your heart. And then I wanted to just really, with such gratitude for all of you coming, spending your Saturday with us for a couple hours. Yes, I wanted to provide a really nice grand prize. So I wanted you to, whoever wins, everyone who comes are going to
Thank
get a
you.
signed book. You're going to get a ticket
Okay.
for this grand prize. You can get some more if you want. But I wanted you to see how this all originated, high vibrational eating through the eyes of spirit. So this grand package will include not only the first volume, but there's a second volume. So you'll get the food healing oracle decks. You'll get a
Wow.
copy of my other books. I have Top Exotic. That's another number one bestseller. Top Exotic Foods for Natural Healing. My smoothie recipe book. It's just and a 30-minute session with me. And when you do sessions with me, I've been a healer my entire life, and you don't have to ask me one thing about food. We just look at food as a character, and we can go, you can ask me about anything. And we will work with the cards and, anyways, give you a mini reading. So all that's included. I think it's like a $300 value. And everyone gets magnets and bookmarks. I mean, it's going to be a party, very high vibrational party. And I'm very much looking forward to sharing our gifts and then receiving people's wonderful energy as well who are coming.
I can't tell you how excited I am for this. When you guys said, "Hey," I said, "Oh yeah," because this is very important. Now we're going to have
Yeah.
it on September 7th from 3 to 5.
Okay.
Is there
Perfect.
anything that they need, because it's at the center? So anything do they need to um bring
Make their way there.
yeah, what do they
We would well, first off, thank you for allowing us to be at the center. I know it's a nonprofit, and this is a little bit of a fundraiser too. We all want to balance our energies and support one another. That's how we can keep doing all of our works. But it's a $40 entrance, and we'd like there is a registration form, and you can provide the link, Michelle, at your place. If you go over to our fan page, there's several ways to find. There's a Facebook page that has this book signing and a link. But we need to know how many books to bring, so we need you to register because you're going to get the book's $25. So you're going to include it in that 40 is the $25 signed book. and a ticket to this great grand prize and some other. We have a nice goodie bag for you, and that helps supports the work that you're doing, Michelle. So yeah, please register in advance. That's really important. So we know how much food to make, we know how many books to bring, and everyone's totally nourished when we come and celebrate on the 7th.
Well, and I will tell everybody, just in case you're on our newsletter list, if you're not, go sign up now because I'll be sending all the information out in the
Great.
next day or two so that people will have the link so that they can register. And I'm going to include this link to this video in the newsletter so that people are then able to get more information. I can't
Get a taste.
I'm so excited because this is dear to my heart. I've been I grew up not knowing that we had this family disease called celiacs that ran through. It was triggered in me when I was like 5, 6 years old, and I didn't know about it till I realized till I was 47. So I've had food and stomach issues my entire life and have
Mm.
always tried to eat a healthier diet. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy my Snickers bar occasionally, but again, that's occasionally, not if I was going down any rabbit hole for any kind of emotional eating, it was green chili dip and beans.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know? So
Yum.
that
You're
was
making me hungry. I can't wait to get there.
no, right? I make my own green chili dip and I plop it in beans and it's fantastic. So the
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I've worked with so many people and I've had so many people write to me. I mean, even a 17-year-old young man came to one of our events and he said, "I have cleared my GI issues using this deck. I tune in, I ask my body, what do I need today? I follow it. I'll make a recipe." Like he gave a little bit of a testimonial, and I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of these. It's just there's definitely magic, miracle, spirit, all of it at work. I'll leave you just with a quick story. There was a woman who knew nothing of our spiritual world. She just kind of came. We have sometimes the muggles and we have our spiritual people, and she came and she pulled the eggplant card, and it's our shadow card. She read the spiritual meaning of shadow, didn't really understand it at all, and she just says, "Oh, that's interesting," hands me back the book. Then I say there's also a practical gift in the book that really explains the meaning behind the nutrition, and I said, "Oh, and by the way, eggplants are really great for scrubbing your arteries," and her eyes went ding, started crying, and she says, "I have artery disease." And it was like in that moment, it was like we connected. She wanted to know more, and you just never know, and I've seen it so many times across the world, and people have written in how this book, now High Vibrational Wellness, but how the sort of origins of how it led to this is going to make an impact for you. So I'm very much looking forward to spending time. Maybe we'll all be able to do group readings when we're there. I mean, we're just going to see what spirit has intended for our day.
I think that's marvelous because unfolding and letting it unfold is the
Mm.
primary best way to approach anything. I'm going to thank you now for giving us your time to explain everything. I'm so excited to have you come. I'm going to be sharing this out. It
Okay.
actually went back on and was live. So I want to tell people, if you see this video on Facebook and you have questions, please, I will put Lainie, I'll tag her in the comments so that you guys have her name there and you guys can connect with her, you can talk with her, you can ask questions of her. If you have any questions, we're at the center, 2703 Broadbent Parkway Northeast, Suite J, September 7th from 3 to 5. And who knows, maybe we'll all have dinner. Maybe.
Make a meal. That's actually one of our spreads. Please come out. I don't come to New Mexico that often, so this is a wonderful time to really gather. And I'm grateful to be in the presence of such beautiful people who are resonating for this at Resonant Essentials. Thank
Exactly. Thank you from my heart to yours. It was good. I
you.
can't wait to meet you in person.
All right. Big hugs. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.